Hello students, today's topic is morphology of flowering plants. With respect to your need, 3 to 4 questions are possible from this chapter. Mainly we don't have any large concept oriented topics here. Mainly we have many different type of examples, so memorizing thing will be more here. So we have small concepts, and with that we have to remember many examples. And not only that, match the following questions are mainly possible from this chapter. So 4 questions will be easily coming from this chapter, and in match the following again 4 to 5 questions or concepts are at a time they will be put together into one question. So this is very important chapter, children. So today we'll be starting with the morphology of the flowering plants. Mainly we have to discuss with the 2 important terms here. One, it is said as morphology, and other is said to be regarding the flowering plants. First we will learn about what is morphology. Morphology is nothing but the external characteristic features of any living organism. So in order to classify the organisms, even first important characteristic feature that we will be taking into account is the morphology. Morphology is nothing but the external feature or form of an organism. So when you observe any kind of organism, externally there are certain features which we can see, and those features are nothing but the morphology of that particular organism. Let us say, if you say for example for humans, if you see externally what you can see, children, we can see different features, like we have limbs, we have different body parts, eyes, ears, nose, all these are external features. In the same way with plants, if you observe any plant, you can see the leaves, stem, root. So all these are the external features which we can generally observe in the organism. Based upon different type of organisms, the body parts will be different. So in this chapter mainly we are learning with the morphology, and in morphology which type of plants are mainly studied here. So we are mainly interested in the most advanced type of plant kingdom, that is the flowering plants. So other than this, we have totally 5 group of plants in the plant kingdom. What are the 5 groups, children? We have the aquatic algae. Next to the algae we have bryophytes. After bryophytes we have pteridophytes. Later we have gymnosperms, and finally we have the angiosperms. So you might have been studied this in your plant kingdom. There are 5 major group of plants: algae, bryophyta, pteridophyta, gymnosperms and angiosperms. Out of these 5 groups, the most advanced group of plant kingdom is angiosperms, and these angiosperms are mainly characterized by the presence of a special structure, and this is mainly meant for reproduction as well as attraction. And this feature is nothing but the production of flowers. Along with the production of flowers, angiosperms are also able to produce seeds. And how are these seeds, children? Do you have any other group along with angiosperms which are producing the seeds? Yes, recall. Yes, we have other group which is the gymnosperms. In gymnosperms, there is a small difference here. Gymnosperms will produce seeds, but those seeds are said to be the naked seeds. Why? Because the fruit is absent there. But there is any other additional feature in angiosperms, that the seeds are covered by a layer which is protective, and it is said to be the fruit. So in total, if we consider what is an angiospermic plant, the flower and fruit bearing plants are said to be the angiosperms. Here mainly the flowering plants are coming under which group, children? Angiosperms. So these angiosperms again, well, just simply we will consider with the classification first. So we all know in kingdom Plantae. So all the plants are included under kingdom Plantae. So under this kingdom Plantae, we have 2 subkingdoms. What are the 2 subkingdoms, children? Cryptogame and Phanerogame. Clear with these terms? We have 2 subkingdoms under kingdom Plantae. One is Cryptogame and other is Phanerogame. So here with this classification, mainly there are few points to be discussed here. So kingdom Plantae will include the subkingdom Cryptogame and Phanerogame. Okay. Cryptogamy are the ones which are non-flowering plants. So all the cryptogams are non-flowering plants, and also they are said to be the primitive plants. In this even you cannot find any xylem and phloem. So vasculature is even absent. Okay, so all the three features you have to remember. Under this kingdom, under the subkingdom Cryptogamy, we have the division, and the divisions are again three divisions are present. One is algae. All of the members in algae are aquatic plants. The bryophytes, aquatic again. Pteridophytes. Pteridophytes are land as well as aquatic plants. So all the three groups are the most primitive plant groups, and they are coming under which subkingdom children? Cryptogamy. Cryptogams are mainly characterized by the absence of vasculature, absence of flowers and seeds. So all these three features are absent from the most primitive plants. Then what are the advanced plants? We have in subkingdom Phanerogamy. So cryptogams are non-flowering plants and phanerogams are the flowering plants. Here the seeds, the spores are produced for the reproduction, and here the seeds are produced for the reproduction. So this is the major difference. Phanerogams will include two important groups. One is the gymnospermae and other is the angiospermae. So in this again, these gymnosperms and angiosperms, they have a common feature. Both are seed producing plants. Both have vasculature, and these seeds, in the case of gymnospermae, gymna means naked, sperma means seed. So naked seed producing plants are gymnosperms. Angio means covered, sperma means seed. So covered seed producing plants are the angiosperms. So along with the flowering character, what is another important feature of these angiosperm children? Flowers. They are bearing the flowers. So even compared to the gymnosperms, the most advanced plant group is the angiospermae. So now we'll be discussing with the angiosperms. Angiosperms are the most advanced group of plant kingdom which are bearing the seeds, flower, and even they have the vasculature. So these are the important features. On the basis of these features, mainly these angiosperms are categorized. So in this chapter, mainly we are learning with the morphology of the flowering plants that are nothing but the angiosperms. Then what about the angiosperms? Where you can see these angiosperms. Angiosperms are cosmopolitan in distribution. They will be living in different type of habitats. They have a vast diversity after insects. So mainly both these have a certain kind of relationship. Both has been evolved during the Cretaceous period, and hence even if you see the relationship between these angiospermic plants with the insects, it is very different. The angiospermic plants and the insects, they are said to be the best symbionts. Why? Because we all know certain plants are mainly dependent upon the insects for pollination. How this relation is created, children? Why? Because during the past, mainly these two groups has evolved at the same time, that is a Cretaceous period. From then, these two group of the organisms have association, and these angiospermic plants has evolved some adaptations to live along with these insects, and hence these angiospermic plants have a diversified relationship, the symbiotic relationship with the diversified insects, different type of insects. Okay, so this is regarding your angiospermic plant. And what type of habitats mainly they are seen in? All type of habitats. It may be a small, large, or you can say it may be a marshy habitat, salty area, or you can say the mountainous area. All these different type of habitats, they will be occupied by the angiospermic plants. They are easily adapted to any kind of environment. Along with that, they are the angiospermic plant body. If you see with the angiospermic plant body, the majority of its life cycle, it is spent in the sporophytic phase. We all know there are two phases in the plant groups. One is said to be the sporophytic phase and other is said to be the gametophytic phase. So sporophytic phase is nothing but the diploid state. Just like the humans, if you see, we have the diploid body, all the organs, all the cells inside our body, they are generally diploid. But only we have gametic cells which are haploid. Only during the meiosis or the production of sperm cells or ova, we will show the haploid cells. Otherwise, the body and the different divisions that are taking place inside us, that are completely diploid. In the same way, the plants are also mostly the angiospermic plants, mostly they will live in the sporophytic phase. Sporophytic phase is nothing but the diploid phase, the diploid body. Whatever organs you see, the root, leaf, stem, even the fruits what are formed in the angiosperms, they are the diploid structures. So what we cannot see, what are the small invisible structures, are the haploid structure. So this is very minimized. The gametophytic phase is minimized in the case of angiospermic plants. Whenever there is a production of the haploid structures, then only you can see the gametophytic phase. Otherwise, the complete life cycle, it is mainly spent in the diploid phase, which is nothing but a sporophytic phase. And even these angiosperms are very important. Why? Because they show influence and impact on different kind of habitats. So wherever you go, you can see these angiospermic plants. Same like that of insects, these are also widely spread in all different type of natural habitats. Okay, even we have certain angiosperms and different type of plant groups which are diminishing because of the loss of their habitats. When their habitats are lost, these type of organism, they will be slowly diminished. So it is very important to conserve these habitats and also protect the biodiversity. Now, coming to the major topic here, so what we are discussing is regarding the angiosperms. First we will be learning with the angiospermic plant. We all know angiospermic plant is a diploid plant, it is multicellular, and mainly here we have two systems. What are the two systems in the angiospermic plants, children? We have a root system and a shoot system. So this part is said to be the root system, and which is present above the ground is said to be the shoot system. Root doesn't bear any organs. Okay, so it is a very simple system. Root system will contain only the main root along with the root hairs, and we don't see any buds, leaf like structures which are associated with the roots. And where this root is present, it is generally buried inside the soil. Okay, so this root, it is mainly helping with the absorption of water and minerals. So what are the major functions, children? Even you are learning this in your primary classes regarding the structure of the plant and what are the structures associated with the plant and their functions. So just we will recall them. The first thing is the root system. The root is mainly meant for absorption of water and minerals. Not only that, it will mainly help in the anchorage of the plant. And what about the shoot system? So shoot system means the aerial part which is present above the ground, which is said to be the shoot system. Then what this shoot system will include? Shoot system will contain all the other organs which are mainly present in the plant body. They are associated with the shoot system. What are the different organs, children? We have the main axis. We have, this is called as the shoot. It is green colored, and with the increase in age of the plant, they will become brown. We all know that the herbs and shrubs are generally tender and they are green in color, but the plants which are trees, they are mainly showing the brown color main axis. Why? Because the shoot which is green, it will turn into the brown color with increase in the age. What about the root part, children? Root is generally non-green structure. They doesn't have any chlorophyll, and hence it is said to be the non-green, and with the increase in age even, this will become corky and brown color in certain type of plants. And in the case of shoot system, we are talking with the aerial part which is present above the ground, that is the shoot system. The shoot system here is the main axis, and this main axis will bear different kind of organs. What are the different kind of organs we have in the plants? We have leaves. All these are leaves, and these are the major sites of photosynthesis. The food, these are autotrophic organism. All the plants, they have the chlorophyll inside them which will trap the sunlight and they will prepare their own food material. And where this harvest is done, the harvest is mainly done in the area of the leaves. Wherever there are leaves, the leaves are the source for the production of the photosynthate or the glucose. So these are leaves. Then where these leaves are arising, if you observe closely, the leaves are arising from a particular point on the stem, and that point from which the leaf is erased, they are known as the nodes. Okay, so we have nodes and internodes on the stem, children. If you look at this, I have given certain buds here. Small buds are present, and above and below these buds you can see the presence of the leaves, and the region where the leaves and buds are attached to the stem, those regions or points are known as the nodes. Okay, so these are the three important structures. Here I have given the shoot system. In shoot system, this is the main axis, the shoot, this is green color. With increase in age it will turn brown, and here the important structures or organs associated, let us see here. The first important thing I am telling you, there are buds which are present on the plant. So these are the small point globular structures present on the plant body. These are said to be the bud, spherical structures, and below these buds we have the leaves which are arising. So we have many leaves which are arising on the plant, and these buds and leaves, they are attached to the specific point on the axis, and that particular point is known as the node. Okay, so node is a point from which the buds and the leaves will arise. Then what about internode? So we have two main things you have to remember. One is node and other is the internode. Node we have seen. Then what is internode? The gap between two nodes is said to be internode. So if you look at the picture, there is one leaf here and there is another leaf which is present here. We have two nodes here. So the gap between two nodes, it is said to be the internode. Internode is nothing but the interval or gap between these two nodes. It is said to be the internode. Okay, so nodes and internodes. We have buds. In buds again, we have two type of buds. What are the two type of buds? We have the terminal bud, which is situated at the top of the plant, and these are the axillary buds which are present all over the shoot system. Okay, so wherever you see the presence of bud along with the leaf, we call such buds as the axillary buds. Okay, so these buds are the axillary buds. Axillary buds, and these buds which are present. So here will be one bud which is present at the tip of the plant, and that is known as the terminal bud. In the terminal region, if it is present, we call it as a terminal bud. If they are present in the axis, we call it as auxiliary buds. Okay, so this is the terminal bud. So what are the structures we have mainly discussed here, children? The non-green present below the soil, which is known as the root. Root is mainly associated with the root hairs. We have not mentioned it here. So this is main axis of the root, and we have the root hairs which are attached to this root. Okay, so this is regarding the non-green and non-photosynthetic part. So this will be completely called as the root system. Okay, so this is underground part, and this is said to be the root system. Above the soil we have the shoot system. The shoot system will include the buds, leaves, stem, as well as flowers and fruits. So flowers and fruits are also produced here. There are certain plants where we have certain exceptions where the flowers are generally not produced. That will be discussing in the modifications here. So here let us see the main axis, the shoot, and they have the leaves which are present, and we have nodes at which the buds are erased. These are said to be the axillary buds, and a bud which is situated at the top of the plant, it is said to be the terminal bud, and the gap between two nodes is said to be the internode. Then what are these structures, children? These are flowers and these are the fruits. So the reproductive structures of the angiospermic plant are the flowers and the fruits. Okay, so these are the reproductive structures which are associated with the angiospermic plant. So this is regarding the morphology of the plant. So whenever you see a plant, whenever you see an angiospermic plant, you can find all these features externally. Then what you will mainly learn in this chapter? We are mainly learning with the morphology and the variations. There is lot of diversity. There is vast diversity in the modification of every structure. every structure. Even if you see with the root which is present underground, we have different type of modification based upon their adaptation. So based upon their habitats, every plant it will be having different morphological features and they are adapted to that particular situation. So this is the most amazing part of the plant will be having a great intelligence to be present in the environment, any type of environment. They are mainly associated with the vast variety of environmental conditions with their adaptations. Every part of the plant can be modified and they can be adapted according to their surroundings. Okay, so we will be learning with all type of modifications which are important to you regarding the root, leaf, stem, fruits. Every structure is modified and everything is diversified. So mainly in this chapter we are learning with the vast diversity of modifications in the angiospermic plants. So first we will start with the root and later we'll proceed with the shoot system. So this is the structure of the root here. So we are looking into the total region of the root, the main root I have given here, along with the root hairs. And this root, it is, we all know, it lacks the pigment and it is non-green in color, which is present below the soil. Then what are the major properties of the root that we have to discuss here? The root will grow positively geotropic and negatively phototropic. What is the meaning of these terms? Phototropic means with respect to light, geotropic means with respect to gravity. So how this root is growing, children? The root is present beneath the soil and it is mainly growing towards the gravity. So it is said to be positively geotropic and it is growing against the light and it is said to be negatively phototropic. Okay, so you have to remember these terms. The root is growing positively geotropic, that is towards gravity, and negatively phototropic, which is against the light. Okay, so let us write the two terms here. As I said to you before, they doesn't bear any organs like leaf, buds or any other thing that cannot be seen in the case of the nodes. Internodes are totally absent on the roots. So that is the major distinguishing feature between the shoot and the root. So how do you distinguish if they are similar in color? If you want to distinguish between a shoot and a root, how do you do that, children? It is mainly because of the organs or accessory organs associated with these structures. The shoot will be having the bud, the leaves, mainly with the buds. If you observe, the roots lack these buds. This is very important feature. Why? Because in certain kind of root modification, we will be mainly misleaded. We will be thinking that this particular structure is a root if it is present underground, but there are certain stems which will be storing the food material below the soil. Then how do you distinguish between a root and a stem there? If it is underground, we simply say that it is root. Then how do you distinguish? This is mainly because of the presence of nodes and internodes. As these roots lack these structures, the stems are easily distinguished. Okay, so that we will see in the modifications later. So let us see the structure here. This is the complete root structure and this is the root, this is the tip of the root and this is apex of the root. In this, mainly if you observe, this is root tip and this root tip, it is protected by a cap-like structure which is known as root cap. So why the protection is required? We all know the root is mainly digging the soil or it will penetrate into the soil. This is very sensitive or thimble structure. While it is penetrating through rocks and mud, it has to be protected and hence it will be having a root cap. For the protection of this thimble structure, the root cap will be present. Okay, so this root cap, it is mainly associated with the tip of the root. It is seen only near the tip of the root where the penetration is required. The root will be with increase in the age of the plant, the needs of the plant will be increased. It has to be absorbing more of water, more of nutrients so that the roots are mainly growing. So when the root is growing, the main root which is present in the center, not the root hairs, children, the main root which is present in the center, it will do the function of penetration and this requires a extra protection and this protection is given by the root cap. Okay, so proceeding to the next layer here. So mainly in this case, the root will be having 4 important layers. So first we have discussed with the root tip part. Root tip part, it is mainly helpful in the penetration and it is having the root cap. What is the second layer? So we will mark it as 1. So root tip is 1. So what is the second layer here? In the root we have the second region, which is known as the region of meristematic activity. Meristem. What is meristem? The continuously dividing cells are generally known as the meristems. They are also known as the totipotent cells. Why? Because the meristems will have the ability to produce any type of tissue and any type of organ, and hence they are said to be the totipotent cells. Just like the stem cells we have in the animals, here in the plants we call them as the meristematic cells. Okay. So in the root region, what is the second region, children? First is the root tip. The function is penetration, and the second is region of meristematic activity. It will be continuously producing numerous cells are produced here. With the increase in the age of the plant, the cells will be increased. There will be continuous divisions which are taking place, and that divisions are mainly seen in which region? Region of meristematic activity, which is present above the root tip. So generally new cells are formed, and these cells are mainly, it will increase the length of the root slowly with the increase in the number of cells. Okay. So after the second region, region of meristematic activity, we have the third region, and this third region is said to be the region of elongation. Okay. So after region of meristematic activity, what is the next region, children? Region of elongation. So this is the region of elongation. So above the region of meristematic activity, whatever the cells which are produced. So whenever you take this particular region, you can see the nascent cells, or you can say the young and immature cells are present in this region. What will happen in the third region, children? All the cells which are produced, they will be elongated. The cell size will be increased in the third region, which is said to be the region of elongation. Whatever cells that are produced in the second region, they will be slowly moved on to the third region, which is said to be the region of elongation. All the cells are elongated here. Then, what is the last part? We have region of maturation. Okay, so this is fourth one. So the last region of the root is the most important region, which is said to be the region of maturation. So once the cells are produced, later they are elongated, they increase in size, and lastly they will mature here. So how the maturity means that there will be different kind of cells that are produced inside organisms, and each and every cell, they has to be destined with a particular function, and this destiny of that particular cell is known as differentiation. What it is known as? Differentiation. So till then they are very young, they doesn't have any responsibility, but once they mature, they will have certain responsibility, and that is known as the differentiation or maturation. Once they get matured, once the cell attains the maximum size, it will be given certain function, and that is mainly done in the fourth region. Okay, so these are the 4 important levels of root. So these are the 4 zones of the root here. The first is said to be the root tip region for penetration, which is protected by the root cap, multicellular root cap, and next region is said to be the region of meristematic activity, where numerous number of cells are produced here. Many number of cells as required by the plant, the cells will be produced, and they have meristems in this region. They are totipotent cells. After that we have region of elongation. All the cells which are produced, which are divided continuously, they are shifted to the region of elongation, where the cell size is maximized. After elongation, these are shifted to the region of maturation. Slowly the pushing is done. The cells are produced, cells are elongated, cells are matured. Okay, so slowly the cells are shifted based upon the requirement of the plant, and at this region the cells will be matured and they are given certain destination, or you can say the function. and which is said to be the differentiation. So this is very, very important, children. You have to remember this term differentiation. Differentiation is nothing but it is attributing some function to particular cell. It is said to be the differentiation, and during the maturation time the differentiation will be taking place. It is just like giving responsibility to the particular cell or tissue. So here if you observe this region of maturation, it is mainly showing certain structures, thin hair-like, fiber-like structures, and these structures are nothing but the root hairs. So along the root, if you observe any kind of root hairs are not present all over the root. They are generally associated with a particular region of the root, and that region is region of maturation. Only at this region you can find numerous amount of root hairs which are associated. Then what is the root hair function? Root hairs are generally meant for increase in absorption. So absorptive function of the root will be increased with the help of these root hairs, that will help in gaining or taking in of lot of nutrients and water from the soil. Okay, so this is regarding your root. So root will be having 4 regions, you have to remember: root tip, region of meristematic activity, region of elongation, and finally we have region of maturation. So now we have seen regarding the structure of the root. Now we will see the type of the root. First, you have to be aware of the shoot system and root system and their origin. So how these two structures are originated? Basically, the life will start for a plant from a seed. Seed is a starting structure. So here mainly the seed will be producing 2 structures during germination. If you observe any structure which is present inside the soil, if the seeds are placed inside the soil, they will be producing 2 structures. What are the 2 structures, children? One is a root and other is the shoot. The root will be white color. Whenever you see the germination of a seed, generally the root will be, the immature root will be white in color. And the shoot, it will be light green, and it will be even producing some leaves after 2 to 3 days. Okay, and how this germination is taking place? If you see this seed, this picture, here I have given a seed, and the seed will be having 2 major important sites. What are the 2 important sites? One is the site from where the root will arise, and there is another important site from where the shoot will arise. Shoot is nothing but the aerial part, or you can call it as a leaf. Okay, so during the seed germination, when the seed absorbs a lot of nutrients and water from the soil, it will swell and it will burst open. So whenever there is bursting of the seed, immediately it will be producing a root for its anchorage, and for photosynthesis it will be producing a green part, that is the leaf, or you can call it a shoot. The region of the seed from where the root is produced. Once again, the region of the seed from where the root is produced is known as a radicle. What it is known as, children? It is known as a radicle. So look at the structure. So below you have a radicle, and from this radicle we have the production. We'll see the production of the root system. Okay, so root along with the root hairs are generally produced from the radical region. The seed above the radicle, the seed will contain another structure or tissue which is known as plumule. What it is known as? Plumule. There are certain group of cells or tissue mass of cells which are mainly called as plumule, and from this particular region you can see the germination of the shoot along with the leaves. Okay, so this is very important thing. During germination we have 2 structures associated with the seed. One is a radicle and other is a plumule. Radicle will produce root system, plumule will produce a shoot system. Now we will try to learn about the types of root. Okay, so you will be understanding why I have explained regarding the radicle and plumule. So mainly when you are learning with the type of roots. So here we have 3 type of root systems. So all the plants, they will be mainly showing all these 3 type of root systems. What are the 3 type of root system? We have tap roots, fibrous roots, and the third one is the adventitious root. What is taproot? Taproot, this is mainly based upon its morphology, how this is present. Mainly based upon that, the categorization is mainly given. So the taproot is the one where you have a main root in the center. The axis, if you see, this is a main root in the center, and it will be having the lateral roots. Okay, so a main root will be present, and this main root is continuously growing. Along with this, you have associated root hairs. Okay, so these are the lateral root hairs associated with the central major portion, which is the major part of the root. Okay, central axis is the main root here. Primary root, you can call it as primary root, and these are the lateral hairs or root hairs. So this is known as a taproot. Generally, this type of structure is seen in the case of all the dicot plants. Dicots are mainly characterized by the presence of taproot system. So whenever you see a plant with a taproot, you can easily classify them under a dicot. Okay. Next we have fibrous root system. What is fibrous root system? Listen carefully. Here even the main root or primary root is produced. What is primary root? The central axis is said to be the primary root. So this primary root is produced, and later this primary root will die. Here the primary root is produced in this case, same like that of the taproot, but this primary root will be dying early. So here it is epihemeral, means it will live short. It will be short-lived, and later it will die. And later, once the primary root it is completely removed, it will be replaced by numerous fiber-like, hair-like structures which are known as fibrous root. Okay, so generally this radicle will produce the main root. Once the main root it is established, you cannot see numerous fibers like, okay, so bunch of fibers are mainly attached. If you see the monocot grasses, when you pick some grass from the ground, you can see numerous fiber like roots that are mainly associated with the plant body. That is nothing but the fibrous root. But here you should not think that the primary root is absent. Primary root is short-lived here. It is replaced by numerous fiber like roots which are present at the base of the stem. If you see here in the taproot system, the main root is always present, and to this main root the root hairs are attached. But in the case of fibrous root, the main root is ephemeral, or you can say it is short-lived. It is replaced by numerous fiber-like roots which are attached at a common base, which is nothing but the stem. So below the stem, simply this is the stem, and the root is lying underground. So at the base of the stem, all these fibers are erased after the death of the primary root, and such type of root system is known as the fibrous root system. This is generally seen in monocots. Monocots are the best example of the grass plants. And the last type is the adventitious root system. Anything that is originated any root that is originating from other than the radical tissue is known as the adventitious root system. Okay, so this is an extraordinary root system which is seen in the plants in various conditions during the stress, or you can say in the change of situations in their environmental conditions. The plants are generally producing this adventitious root, and this is an added advantage to the plant body in various situations like stress, or you can say in the nutrient uptake, or during floods. Whatever roots that are mainly destroyed underground, that will be replaced by these adventitious roots. So this is an added advantage to the plant body to survive under stressful conditions. So these two type of root system, taproot and fibrous root system, both are originating from the radical. I have told you that if it is a root system, it should be originating from the radical, not from the plumule. From the plumule it is the shoot system. From the radical will be arising the root system. So roots are always arised from the lower region of the seed where you can see the radical. Then what about adventitious root, children? Adventitious root is produced. Adventitious root is the one which is formed from any structure of the seed or any structure of the plant other than the radical. Once again, adventitious root is the one which is formed other than the radical. It may be a seed or a plant. So if you see certain plants, even in the case of the simple example I will give you, money plant. Have you ever observed money plant, children? We all know the plants will have the roots underground. But in the money plant, you can see some climbing roots which are attached to the plant body. right? And these climbing roots, again, if you cut this portion and you place it in soil, it will again give rise to new plant. Okay, so such type of roots which are arising anywhere except from the radical are said to be adventitious root. It may be arising from a stem, it may be arising from a bud, or it may be arising from any other structure of the seed. It is said to be adventitious. Okay, but it should not be arising from a radical. If it is arising from radical, it could be a taproot or a fibrous root. They are categorized under these two categories. And another important thing, yes, this type of root system, it is seen in all type of plants, dicots or monocots. Another example I will be giving for you. If you take a cutting rose plant, if you take a stem of the rose plant and when you place it in the soil, after a few days you can observe that roots are produced from the stem. We have taken a stem cutting and we have placed it in soil and you can see the formation of the roots. So what it means, children, it is nothing but it is forming the adventitious root. Okay, so any root which is produced from any part of the plant other than the radical, it is defined as adventitious root. Okay, so here another important point regarding your NEET I am telling you, is fibrous root and adventitious root? Can you tell me? Can you guess this, children? Fibrous root, I have told you, it's a primary root, but it will die soon. Later they are replaced by the numerous fiber-like structures or hair-like structures which are said to be the fibrous root. Here, if you observe, all these fibrous roots or fiber-like roots, they are arised from base of the stem. Stem means it is adventitious in nature. Right. So firstly, if you see the origin of the primary root in the fibrous root, it is from radical, but later it is replaced by numerous fiber-like roots and they are arising from the base of the stem. So can it be called as an adventitious root? Yes, definitely we can call it as an adventitious root. Why? Because they are mainly generated or produced from base of the stem and they are adventitious in nature. So all the fibrous roots are adventitious root, but not all the adventitious roots are fibrous roots. Don't get confused, children. Simply remember, fibrous roots are also called as adventitious roots. Why? Because they are arising from base of the stem. Okay, clear with this concept? Yes. So these are the three type of roots. So another example even I have given, there are certain leaves which are producing new plants. You can see some roots that are produced on the leaves, even bryophyllum. Okay, so all these examples will be coming. Sugarcane. Even for the sugarcane, you have the stem cuttings. When you place the stem of the sugarcane inside the soil, you can see the production of many roots from the nodal region. Okay, so all these examples will be learning shortly. So first you have to keep this concept in mind before learning the modifications of the root. So in the next lecture, mainly I will be discussing with the different type of modifications of the roots. So before going to discuss with the modification, you have to learn with the structure of the root and also types of root. Thank you.